Let's see what they say. I ain't combed my beard or my damn hair. We live. Hold on, let me look on this back on the other end. Let's see what it says. Ain't combed my beard or my damn hair. Oh, ooh. Damn. All right, we live. First I want to say ETM Hotel. Dua Aku, Dua Netcha, Fatmu Alafie, Fatmu Iwa Pele, Majuba Iba Egungun, Majuba Iba Egungun, Majuba Iba Lakba, Majuba Iba Lakba, Egungun, Kiki, Egungun. I always want to give honor and praises to the ancestors, because again, without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. I always want to give honor and praises to the true and living elders, those elders that are qualified to be called elders according to African culture and African tradition. I want to say black, ooh, black, black African power, family. I got choked up. But yeah, welcome back to Kofi Piesie TV. Before we get started, I got Vyasa Niccolo Gullah, Setepenre Meri Amen, Herit Shawn Khalfani. We're gonna have Sutekh joining a little late and T'Challa joining a little bit later on. We're gonna send the link to the chat for those that may want to come in later on to join the discussion. Shoot, what was I finna say? Go ahead, y'all. I'm done. Go ahead. Yeah, if y'all got something before I get started, I'm gonna go ahead and jump the show off and then start with a Hotel Dino suit.
Hey, peace to everybody tuning in. Like the show, share the show, man. That's all I got.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting on Sean to do his part before I said anything. I feel like that should be first since it's homage to someone.
Yeah, I was just gonna wait till after we started the show, but if y'all wanted to introduce yourselves, y'all can just introduce yourselves. And then I'm gonna jump the show off.
Okay. Well, peace everybody. This is Vasal. Peace to the panel. Peace to the audience. I'm go back to mute for now. Like and share the show though.
Peace, everybody. Like, share the show.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me just a second here. Uh, Hold on, it's doing something. Okay, there you go. That's everyone. I got all kind of stuff open up on here. Hold on, I don't even know where I'm supposed to be. Okay, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. All right. Uh, and I didn't even put that in there.
Kofi,
First,
we're gonna do the Hotel D.
yeah, I actually thought I had my and matter of fact, I'm finna do that. Well, I'm finna pull a. Give me 1 second, y'all.
The
I'm finna
hotel
do
right there.
yeah, but I'm finna do something else, man. On my channel, I always start my thing out, man. I shade. So I'm finna do.
Every man and woman and child. I share.
Get it popping, Kofi.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do a Sean. You know, Sean will fix a slide on in mid-air. So I'm gonna my thing on here real quick. Where is it? I don't see it. There it is. Okay. Pull a Sean any Herit Khalfani move. All right. Boom. That's how I'm gonna do that. Now let's get started. Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation.
knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man.
Look at this here. I see it, Sister Kayla. Hold on. Wow. They say it's on you, Sean. I wonder how I got it locked on. That's why. Wow. Hold on. Ain't nobody saying. I appreciate that, Sister Kayla. I I had it presented to everyone, but I got it locked on me now.
Yeah, I was looking at you through the Hangout. I wasn't even looking at the YouTube.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's start this one more time. I'm sorry.
Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme picture of creation. When man becomes possessor over the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man. I'm breathing my team, red like a green, queen, the king, salute, now scream, I should. Bring Brooklyn on the hit, I should. Five different. I'm ripping my team, red like a green, queen, the king, salute, now scream, I should. Bring Brooklyn on the hit, I should. Five different. I should.
All right. This is a Hotel Dina suit. I started doing a Hotel Dina suit on my channel. I hadn't did it in a while. Somebody kind of discouraged me from doing it. I ain't gonna say no names, but I kind of stopped doing it. But I got it from I'm a member with three of us on the panel with members of the session, my Ani Metanetra. And this is what we do when we start our shows off, our YouTube shows off with the session, my Ani Metanetra group. And I kind of carried that on when I started my own platform, the Hotel Dina Suit. So today is um, Malik El Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X, birthday. He was an ancestor, so we're gonna get huh?
Can we get into it, Coach?
You see what I had to put up with, y'all. My brother, my brother, Herit Shawn Khalfani is going to do the Hotel Dina Suit.
Oh, me? Okay. Nah, man. Let me get to it. Hotep D Nasu with Sir Neb Jadu, Nature A Neb Abju, DF Peret Kuru, Et Hinket, Ka Apet, Sesh Minket, Nebet Neferet Wabet, Anket, Nature M, N Ka N, M Aku. I want to say Terry, the great ancestor Malcolm X, Ma'a Kuru.
All right. Now today's presentation is called. Hold on, y'all. Uh, I'll finish that in a minute. But today's open discussion is called Entertainment versus Education. Do we need to separate the two? So we'll be talking about entertainment. We'll be talking about education. Do we need the two, or do we need to keep one, throw one away? Uh, which one is better for us? Is both better? How can we implement both? And etc. So again, entertainment versus education. Do we need to separate the two? And again, we're going to put the link in the chat for those, and we'll kind of keep trying to put it back in there for people that may be coming in a little bit later on. Also, if you want to join the panel, you can join the panel. you know what I'm saying, and join us in this discussions. All right. And I did it on this one too. I've been messing up all day today. I did this on the mosque. But I always have to I just like putting a disclaimer out there, and I always have to just for me, I can't speak for nobody. I'm a student. I'm not a teacher. I am a student there, only sharing information. That information is provided for the educational purpose. And if you are in doubt, do the research and have it verified by someone qualified. I reserve the right to change the focus of this presentation to shut down and et cetera, whatever else goes with your disclaimer. That's all I can remember off the top. But and also my saying, as I learn, we all learn. And my new saying, let's get this culture, because a lot of us don't know our culture, our tradition, our heritage, or even where we come from. We have been told lies, misinformation in school about who we are. So it's very vital, very important for us to learn our culture. So that's why I came up with let's get this culture. So today, brother Vasa will be hitting the discussion as well. But before we get started, I don't know. I'm just a visual type of person. I can listen to a person speak and say certain things. I like to see I like to wait for the books. I like to wait for the references so I can go verify these things for myself, or just look at it with my own eyes and read it for my own self and get my own understanding. So a lot of times, even with the previous discussions, I may throw up a few little things on here, even though it's just an open discussion and we're just talking and we're discussion. But I just like to throw some things out here and be visual because I like to be visual. So I know some people like to be visual. But just a few little working definitions right here. Since we're talking about entertainment and we're talking about education. So entertainment, shows, films, television, or any performance or activities that entertain people or a performance. This is by the diction. This is the Cambridge dictionary. I got this out of Cambridge.org dictionary. Entertainment, the actions of providing or being provided with amusement or enjoyment, an event, performance, or activity designed to entertain others. I got this from the Oxford Dictionary, oxforddictionary.com. Excuse me. Education, the process to receive or give systematical instructions, especially at a school or university, or a course of education. I got this from Oxford Dictionary also. Education is the process of calculating, learning, or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits. Educational methods include storytelling, discussing, teaching, training, and direct research. Educated frequently take places under the guides of educators, and also learners may also educate themselves. Education can take place in a formal or informal setting, and any experience that has a formative effect on the way one thinks, feel, or act are may considered educational. And I got this simple definition, which I like this definition better than I like the Oxford definition. And I got this from Wikipedia. So these are the working definitions that we going to be working with. I mean, if somebody else got a few other different working definitions, then they can present uh, their working definition of what education and entertainment are. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I'll come back to sharing my screen because I had like a few slides. I'm gonna let Vasa go in, and then I'll come back because, like I said, we're going to be talking about education and entertainment, and I definitely want to talk about the entertainment in general as of 2019, or the Western, or we'll just get into it. You know what I'm saying? We'll get into the Western entertainment, and we'll get into African entertainment. Let me start sharing my screen. I'll come back to sharing my screen later on. All right. Damn, where am I? Hold on, y'all. All right, start sharing. Am I still okay? There I am. All right, go ahead, brother Voss.
You could have kept your screen up because I don't really have anything to show at the moment. But let me make sure I can be heard. Can y'all hear me?
Well, I'll go back to sharing then. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Um, to start this off, we got to identify that we are looking at this from a philosophical point of view. And to argue one is better than the other, we have to be careful because a culture can identify and learn its ways through the mechanisms of arts, entertainment, things of that nature. We come from telling parables to give lessons, telling myths to give lessons. The problem is when we put the entertainment above the education. And one of the things when this topic was presented to me that I asked Kofi in private was a question I've been asking a small number of my peers here recently. In this modern day and age, and anybody can chime in and try to answer this, and I want people in the audience in particular to try to answer this. Is it possible for you to form an independent thought? Not an individual thought, but an independent thought. And if so, how? And we have to be very, very mindful of that question because the very thoughts that we have are normally processed through words, symbols, images, but we are intaking those. So if we are looking at entertainment constantly and not being educated, what are we thinking? What is our mode of reasoning? And these are things that we have to identify. To say entertainment can't be educational, then we'd have to throw away people like Muhammad Ali, who took his stance as being an entertainer to try to educate something deeper and meaning to the masses. But as the conversation builds, is when I want to come in. I kind of want to see where everybody on the panel stands at first, and kind of build as we go through it. And I'm trying to do something on the back end at the moment as well. But that's really where we are right now. And you know, to say entertainment versus education. With this conversation in itself, there's questions that come about. Are we saying we throw away entertainment in general, and the only thing we do is go to school all day? And us being human beings, and us all wanting to have a sense of self, processing different emotions. We know that joy is one of those emotions. The idea of just sitting back and becoming bookworms is going to become a true deterrent to many. So we are aware that we do need entertainment, but the conversation should be what form of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
How do we blend the two?
Mm-hmm.
A good teacher should be able to reach his students and keep a atmosphere that's conducive for learning. And if you're dealing with children, if you're dealing with different individuals, you may need to bring jokes in. You may need to bring in a sense of humor at times to keep their attention. But you should never degrade the the true function of that pillar of education. Um, Now, if we're talking about what we see in social media take place and what are people's motives, are they motives to entertain you or are they motives to educate and spread enlightenment? We also have to identify that factor in the conversation as well. So that's why I said as this conversation unravels, I'll be able to kind of speak more into it.
Okay. Well, before I mean, unless they want to, I'll go back to the slide because you said what form of entertainment, and I wanted to kind of show like some stats as far as our people, far as wanting to be entertained more than more than being educated. And wait a minute, somebody on? I don't
Mm-hmm.
want. Go ahead. I don't want to jump my turn. We'll get into that. Go ahead.
Okay, so you brought up Muhammad Ali,
Mm-hmm.
right? As an entertainer, he used his platform to for a greater cause. It was his platform was bigger than his boxing to him. To other people, he was this great boxer. But what elevated him was the fact that he was willing to sacrifice his great boxing for the greater good of his people, who he loved more than his boxing career. That's a rare trait from an entertainer because boxing is a sport. Yes, it is entertaining. However, he wasn't making a political stance on behalf of his own personal agenda. His political stance was for the greater good of all African people in America. That whether you want to identify as African or black or whatever, a person of color, a Negro or whatever, I don't care. And you have to realize when he was entertaining folk, it was the jokes. It was in the spirit of boxing during the weigh-ins, or when he was on TV um, with Howard Cosell doing those interviews in that stretch run where he had made his political stance, and now he was trying to be able to continue to provide for his household and his family and still remain true to who he was as a person, right? So um, you brought up some interesting points of views as far as uh, learning and so on, but you have to remember we're in an era of into a dominant entertainment. Nobody cares about being educated anymore. We see that on social media. They It has to be about turmoil. We call it the love and hip hop of consciousness. They only tune into rhetoric and things that sound and feel good, and they cling to people who cling to be conscious are really um, have this messiah complex still that they have not overcame. So what has replaced Jesus is now a personality. So it's a personality worship, and then I have my favorites, and I'm going to represent them right, wrong, or indifferent when it should be about the information. So for those of us who have come into consciousness, so to say, as a different avenue for information, we are supposed to abide by a criterion that was set as a precedent long before this foolishness that has come about lately. This is in the history of being aware and knowledgeable about who you are and your place in history. This is the most foolish era that has come about, and we have to be mindful of that. One, the crack era. Now it's the heroin and pill epidemic. So the influence of the ignorance is we could say it relates back to drug. This is just a hypothesis, not stating this as a scientific theory or nothing like that. But my hypothesis would be that the influence of recreational drugs, alcohol, single parent households, um, the crab in the barrel mentality, um, from school to prison pipeline, all these things that we have had to overcome, the new Jim Crow era, all of these things that we have endured and had to overcome are influential on the ignorance of today in society because we glorify stupidity. And we don't take the time out to uplift that kid who just graduated with a 4.0, who was the valedictorian, who has 36 has 36 offers to major schools, but he decided to go to an HBCU school, a university. He or she decided to go to a HBCU and then further their education in a scientific field of study that will be better for the greater good of not only our community but mankind. We don't big that up. But if you change the cultural perspective and you put that same individual in China, Japan, Korea, you will see that individual uplifted, praised, and worshiped because they're moving on to greater pastures. And that person will then come all the way to America and go to a Yale or a Harvard, complete 8 years of education, and get all the requirements that are needed to fulfill this. Their dissertation is on point, the methodology is on point, and then they go right on back to China, Korea, Japan, and they rebuild something fascinating for their own people that is groundbreaking. So we have to realize that we are overwhelmed in entertainment and we are missing and dropping the ball on being educated. So yeah, we have to put things in perspective where we go. Like we know that if we go on a particular channel or channels, that we're going to get flat out foolishness. We're not going to get what we actually need as a base, something to digest, unless the right people are on that particular platform that
Mm,
we know that we can go behind and we're going to gain that material information that we need in order
mm,
to apply it to our daily lives. A lot of the other stuff is just entertainment, and that's all it's ever going to be. It's going to be Don King in the middle of the ring and then whatever fight that they can spar up. That's that we have to put that into perspective. But can we get teaching moments out of those things? It seems to be yes, we can. We have critiqued a lot of misinformation and used those as teaching moments to encourage growth in our community. But there's so much misinformation that we can't critique and hold accountable everything. So we miss out on a lot of things. And not to be as long winded because I do want to stick to it, but my stance on this entertainment versus education is the fact that we have played long enough to the point that we don't need to be playing. We need to get serious about things. We're last as a people, but we're supposed to be conscious. We're supposed to be engineered. We're supposed to be groundbreaking. We're supposed to be scientifically literate. We have lost all the things that our ancestors stood on to build as principles to compete with white academia. And when I say white academia, like I was saying earlier, I'm talking about the Jews. I'm talking about the European Americans. I'm talking about the Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, all of these other people who have formed organizations and literary and scientific studies and platforms around their ideals and principles and research methods to combat other emphasis of other areas. So until we get serious, the conscious community is a joke. And we would rather be entertained than to educate ourselves. And in that entertainment, we are willing to sacrifice our future.
man, hey, I couldn't say it no perfecter than what you said, man, and I agree with you totally. Entertainment, we rather be entertained more than we rather be educated. That's why it frustrates me sometimes, and I'm glad that you mentioned those key points because it kind of go with what I wanted to do for us as with these next few slides real quick, and then we'll jump back into the discussion. Those that and we entertain a little bit. Because people know how I feel when it comes to a lot of these platforms. I don't participate. I don't watch. You know what I'm saying? Because if I can't get anything out of it, I don't need to watch it. If me and my kids can't watch, can watch it together. I don't need to look at it. And we rather be entertained with some foolishness than to be educated. Most people get on, some people get on that want to get that education, that wants to learn, but you can't learn because it's so much distractions. We on there to be entertained. We on there to see who's talking about who's next. We on there to see who's finna get cussed out. We on there who is finna stroke their ego and make the other person look small and and etc. So and we our generation or this conscious community is nothing but the 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 uh the the entertainer community. That's all it is. It is the entertaining community. Now, when we deal with now, let's just read. According to the new report published by Nielsen, and African American viewers carry a lot of weight when it comes to audience and purchasing power. We already know that. Market research firm, lastly, the African American Consumer Study, titled "Resilient, Receptive, and Relevant," details that needs for corporations and marketers to connect with Black audience who now have buying power of 1 trillion and watch significant more television than any other group. The reporter found African Americans favoring programs with diverse casts, and African American women watch more television than the men. According to the reports, African Americans watch 37% more television than any other demographic, and their consumption uh, proclivities are equivalent influentially. In fact, researchers predict their buying power will rise to 1.3 trillion by the year 2007, which it has risen. And I'm bringing this out of us because, again, entertainment. It's nothing wrong with being entertained, but that's all we want to be. That's all we want right now. The Black community, this so-called conscious community, we don't want to learn and grow where we're able to excel and bring forth uh things, great things in our community, build our community. We want to be entertained. So we want to be entertained. So I wanted to throw this out here too. Far as us, we watch TVs. Our entertainers are our heroes today. Um, so we watch too much damn TV. Nielsen rating media participates who was exposed, and I'm bringing this out too because I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people that I talk to tells me that they don't want to read. I ask them, what was the last piece of literature that you read? And nobody can tell me what the last piece of literature are, or especially I'm from the South, so a lot of people in the South are Christians. So the last piece of literature, if they say they do read some, they say the Bible, But a lot of times people say they don't have time to read, to educate, to research, to grow because they work in it, but they don't work 24 hours in a day. And most of our community watching, what I'm saying, 50, and this is just a guesstimation, 50 to 60 hours, and that may be a little bit too much, but watching too much TV and not sitting down, reading and educating themselves further, and able to grow. So Nielsen rating tells media participants who was exposed to the content adversary. I'm just going to break down how they use and how they measure to determine who is watching so much TV and how they target us with these commercials in order to make money because they know we rather be entertained than be educated. Nielsen rating the media participant was exposed to a content of advertising. We assume multiple metrics such as reach, frequencies, average, and the well-known ratings, the percentage of a specific population that was exposed to the contents and ads to determine the exposure. TV ratings provide insights into the watching which programs, valuable information for networks, context, distribution, brands, and buyers, aids, and agencies. The TV to measure TV's audience and derive our viewing metrics, i.e., rating, reaches, frequency. We proprietary electronic measuring devices and software to capture what content, network, or station viewers are watched on each TV and digital device in the homes of our Nielsen family. In total, we measure hundreds of networks, hundreds of stations, thousands of programs, and millions of viewers. In the US, electronic measuring device and millions of cable/satellite boxes are used to provide local market level viewing. Behaviors enable media markets to gain and grantable views of TV audience. Our measurement technology and devices captured with network/station viewers and tuned into each television set in the home. Our meters or technologies can also identify who is watching as well as when, and including time shipping views and the viewings or recording programs via DVRs and videos on demand. Nielsen also capture viewing the occurrence on other screens such as mobiles, tablets, computers, delivering to the networks, clients, and views of the total audience. So this is how they do what they're able to see who is watching, what demographic or what group is watching the most entertainment. And this is another reason why us wanting to be entertained all the time, it is a downfall for them, but it is a gain for us, because now with them able to measure and do all these certain things, they know that okay, we're gonna we love to be entertained, so we're gonna be watching more the majority of the time. If we're not at work, we're going to be glued to the front of the TV. So now they have strategized and come up with different ways in order to capitalize off of us wanting to be entertained all the time. So this is why they come up with certain type of commercials and ads that is specifically for our demographic in order for us to buy certain things for them, because we always wanting to be entertained and in front of the TV at all times. So we watch more TV than anybody else because we love to be entertained. It's more about being entertained than anything else in our community. Now, I'm not gonna even go into this, but okay, well, in 1847, it was illegal for black folks to read and write, and now it's 2019. Uh, and you would think that the law still is in effect. And again, I put this up here because of the things that I see. I'm only speaking from the observation of the things that I see. For as you know, prior it was against doing the Atlantic slave trade or the slave trade in general. We know that it was illegal. It was a law set in place for us, for those that was enslaved, and even the free blacks that were free. It was a law passed. It was illegal for us to read and write. It was a law passed where we could educate ourselves. But a lot of times, from what I see in the conscious community or just out in the streets everyday life that I live, no one wants to be educated. It's always about entertain. It's always about entertainment, and entertainment now has trumped education. And are there more illiterate blacks or African Americans now? Are there more illiterate blacks than there were? I mean, illiterate blacks or African Americans now than there were in slavery. I'm just asking the question. I don't know the answer to that question. But again, from the observation that I see, and even when I look at those certain platforms, I do see that in those certain platforms that uses entertainment, you're more amused, you're more entertainment, are more entertained than you're more educated. And just by some of the things that I see, if I do watch them, a lot of our people are lost. They're lost. They are illiterate. They don't know anything. And just like Brother Sean said, that it has become so far as entertainment where we have come where it's about personality worship. We don't care what type of information this individual is spewing, whether it's pseudo or whether it's not. We have grown to adore this person. So whatever he say, we're gonna follow them person on face value and tag the other person, because it's all about entertainment value at the end of the day. Entertainment, foolish entertainment is what sells. And that is what's going on in the conscious community. African cultures has entertainment, and I'm finna move on and let somebody else goes on. Yes, African culture has entertainment. Everybody knows Brother Kofi is African centered. I'm a die-hard African, and I'm always talking about African culture, traditions, and the Africans, Africa way of life. So yes, African culture has entertainment in it, but does African culture has the certain type of entertainment value that we have today, far as the foolishness that is going on in the community, and when our ancestors, or even now with certain things that's going on, uh, the entertainment aspect has an educational standpoint to it as well. Why you are being amused, why you are being entertained, and why you are performing these certain things, you are learning. You are being educated. You are being educated. And again, the griots and the griots are oral historians. They are counselors. They are entertainers. So griots are and griotes are entertainers. These are prominent figures in African culture, specifically West African culture. They are poets, storytellers, dancers, and singers. So these guys are musicians. They are musicians. I forgot to put musicians up here as well. They have three instruments that they play. And while they play instruments, while they reenact certain things, they are educating you about the history of their community or their clan. They are educating you about certain things that's going on for us with your cosmology story about how the world or how they perceive the things came in existence, how their deity did things for things to come into existence. African masquerades is another form of entertainment, and this is the same thing where these guys, and my personal opinion, by my own research that I have done in the past and have been doing, that I believe that Africans was the first performance art. I talk about this in one of my presentations where I talk about African masquerades. African masquerades is another form of entertainment that our culture did use, and we play roles just like performance art individuals that go to school and get in these certain plays. They dress up and they play something else. We was doing this thousands of years ago, and we were doing this also through masquerades. We was dressing up in costume, mask, and etc., and we was reacting certain things, reacting out certain things, and we was being entertained and we was being educated in the process. But today in 2019, we are not doing that. So right now, I'm saying I'm against far as entertainment right now. I'm pro more education than I am for as the entertainment, because only way I think that we can have the two if we go back to our cultural base where we can be entertained and be educated at the same time. And a lot of times, and being by being educated, stand on those moral principles if we call ourselves Africans. Because again, it is based in building good character. And what I see in this community for with this entertainment is you not being educated, and you're getting too much foolishness. It's too much bad character going around, and we love to see other people get beat up. We love to see other people get cussed out. We love to see other people get talked about where they look so small just to stroke somebody else's ego where it seems like they look bigger than the other. That's all I have right there. These are just a little few references that I had just for the few things that I had, but it kind of went. I'm glad Shawn went on because what he said kind of went with what these few slides that I had that I just wanted to show.
Well, you said a whole lot. I ain't gonna say nothing else, man. Boss, you supposed to be running point guard. Hotep Saber, Hotep Chanel, Hotep
Hey,
T'Challa.
Kofi, before you start closing out all your slides, not so much that paper I sent you, but see if you can share that picture and kind of use that to go
Yeah,
over the book.
yeah. Go
And I'm
ahead.
gonna read
Let me.
something from an aesthetic book real quick.
Okay, hold on. I'm
It
finna
says
have
the
to.
young can't distinguish what is allegorical from
Hey,
what
hey, hold
isn't,
on. Woo,
and the
woo.
opinions they observe at
Hey,
that age are hard
boss,
to erase and
can you hear
apt
me?
to become intolerable.
Boss,
For these reasons, then,
He can't hear
we should
you.
probably take the utmost care to ensure that the first stories they
boss,
hear are
boss.
about virtue,
His
are
thing
the
keep going
best
out.
ones for them to hear.
Boss,
And I
boss,
think we've lost that
boss.
very aspect when it comes to forming entertainment.
He can't. Vasa, can you hear me? Vasa.
I think his mic messed up, man. Go ahead, Kofi. He can't hear him no more. Go ahead.
Yeah, because he wanted me to share something. That's why I had to come share. Oh, peace to
Is
brother
Kofi
Sadell.
chopping up for y'all, or is it just on my end?
It's on your end. We was I was trying to stop you before you got ready to read it. I'm finna pull. I had to stop. I was let you know. I had to stop sharing what I had in order to share what you got that you gave me in the back of the back chat. So I was finna pull that up, and because you said you wanted that picture showing while you was reading what you were reading. So and your mic was sticking. It was going in and out. So you can go back and reread it because I was hollering over you. I wasn't trying to. I was trying to get your attention and let you know I had to stop sharing in order to pull up what you wanted me to pull up. Hold on, I'm finna pull it up now. And peace to Sister Kayla and Brother T'Challa Bangoura uh, and Saber Wujao and Saned. Let me pull up real quick.
Oh, peace, bro.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah. I oh, you sent that through me through a text, man. Go ahead. You can read what you want to read. I'm gonna pull it up. I forgot. I thought you sent it to me on the back chat. You sent it through via text message, and I'm gonna have to email it to my. Well, no, I won't. I'm gonna have to. Hold on. Give me just a sec. I can pull it up. I'm gonna just disregard. Just delete the draft. Uh, I can send it straight to Kofi Piesie TV Facebook message. Hold on. Here it go. All right.
I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't hear anything after Sean said I'm supposed to be running point.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, what I was saying was you was reading. I was telling you to hold on a second. You wanted me to pull something up.
Oh,
I
okay.
had to stop sharing my screen in order to pull up what you wanted me to pull up on the screen. So I'm doing it now. I forgot you sent it via text message. I thought you had put it in our Facebook Messenger, but um it wasn't in there. So I'm putting it in there now. It should be in there. So I'm finna pull it up and then you can go back and read what you was trying to read. Hold on, let me see. Let's see
Did
if
y'all
it's in.
hear? Well, did y'all hear? And it was just that short part. Did y'all hear it, or do I need to reread it?
You're gonna have to you're gonna have to reread it, man. And
Okay.
it didn't
I
even go through, man.
apologize. Yeah, it kicked me out the chat and everything. Must have had a bad signal moment or something.
But go ahead.
Well, in the meantime, while you're working on that, does anybody on the panel want to chime in for a second? I see we got more people in here. Peace to
Yeah, we
everybody.
got Taylor, Sanel, and Saber Wojal.
Peace, peace. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, brother.
Till
Um, who was that?
No, he was saying to you. He was just saying he was agreeing. To means yes. We can hear
Okay,
you.
so peace to the fam, peace to the chat. I was hearing you speak earlier, brother Kofi, about the entertainment aspect that those some of those in the conscious community have seemed to find more accepting than the actual education that's supposed to be within that same entertainment. I think on one hand, some form of entertainment is appropriate when you're instructing or you're teaching someone, because you gotta hold their attention. You see what I'm saying? One of my good friends is actually a teacher, and she talks a lot about having to. She teaches at a high school here in North Atlanta, but she explained that sometimes she gotta like do things to keep the children engaged, or they'll get bored. But I think a lot of it's become, with the reality TV world that we live in now, it's like people just sit down and watch grown men argue all evening. And some of the things that they argue about are so frivolous. I mean, it makes, I mean, we even had a show on it on NBK that, is the conscious community, willfully ignorant. Are we just okay with basking in ignorance? You see what I'm saying? And it's the seriousness that come with studying, and I had to check myself about that very same thing and how serious I am about it. One of the things that I tell my kids is that your education doesn't stop when you get off 415. 415 is the bus they come home on. So so when you come back in the house, we're gonna sit down at the table, we're gonna go over each other's homework, and then you're gonna get the education that I want to give you. So we're gonna build about something every day. They sit down in front of me and we build about something. And that's very important. And what really made me get serious about this education thing was when I started studying like early 1700s, the free black folks who was actually putting out doing lectures or reading about James W.C. Pennington, who was a slave and ran away at 15. The next thing you know, he's writing one of the first historical texts about the African in America. And for him to be able to do that coming out of his situation, it's like me with an iPhone, an iPad, an iMac. You see what I'm saying? I have no excuse. So at the end of the day, it comes to how serious we are about it. Because of the other side, that's why they sit there with their popcorn, they watch our channels, and they laugh at us because we don't know our history, and it's right there for us. We have no excuse. Everyone has an iPhone. Anyone can hop on Wikipedia, check those references, and go read them for yourself. But it's somehow we've accepted letting someone else give us our history, take it for face value because they're popular or they agree with our ideology, and we can't look at things objectively and weed through the bull. So I think a referendum has to come within the next couple of years. Okay, listen, are we serious about not only educating ourselves, but educating these babies? Because we're not going to get that old head who's set in his ways and been learning something his whole life. His grandma or granddaddy taught him, and now we trying to present some information to the contrary. You're not going to reach him. But if we form these think tanks and these study groups like what you brothers are doing over here and start trying to get to these children, that's how we can affect the next generation outside of arguing with grown men, all day long about milk. Dig what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it comes back to how serious are we about it? Are you seriously not only liberating yourself physically, but intellectually to where you consider from of a critic who is a benefactor of your oppression and be able to stand toe to toe with them when they throw their history at you? Because don't get it twisted. They know who you are. But the fact is, the crime comes in when we don't know who we are. And plus, when we have the resources to find out and be able to teach our children. You see what I'm saying? So, I don't want to take up all the time if anybody else on the panel want to build about that.
I think a lot of that was important,
Hey,
and
Pete.
it brings forth this one question: what value and rewards and incentives are we giving towards the educator versus the entertainer in the mass whole of the culture right now? If we looking and we have to address this issue, if we keep proclaiming that there's no point in going to college, that you're just going to wind up in debt, but if you become an athlete or an entertainer, a means to survival is there for you, to these children. And that is the biggest conflict of interest that we see, at least through my eyes, that we see, because we've taken away the value of education. And that was one of the first things when I was younger I had the most conflict with was in those who even promote education. You go to school so you can get a good job. You go to school so you can get a good job so you can make good money. No one is saying you go to school to get educated so if you don't get a good job, you know how to survive. You know what to feed yourself. You know how to build a house. You know how to make clothes for the different weather and conditions. You know how to survive against um, all the adversities that life may throw your way. And we stripping that away. We making it to where as long as you're smart enough to put $1 in your pocket, then you're okay. And if we make that become the social norm, then entertainment is going to win hands down. Especially when we see things like teachers don't get paid enough. But on the other hand of it, we also know books sell just as much as movies do, but that's not being promoted. So I don't want to get too long with it because there are a lot of people on here. I just wanted to throw that thought out for a moment.
Go ahead, Saber.
Hey, peace to the panel.
Peace.
Yeah, I saw the link. Fair chime in. This is my kind of topic to talk about because I think I share some of the views that I've heard so far, that I've heard Kofi you say in the past, as well as far as the what's going on in our communities, the social community, the social media and social community and things like that, and how people are not really taking education serious. And so, I just wanted to chime in and just give my 2 cents on that because I think that overall, whatever we define the we, the WE or the US, us as, whatever that is, we are not utilizing social media to our the most effective and efficient ways, be it Facebook, Instagram, all these different platforms, YouTube and whatnot. And so the new norm has become, like you all been saying, entertainment. And so what I want to just touch on is that there's been a paradigm shift with what's going on now. And what happens is, just like you have biological evolution, which happens very, very slow. You don't have to know the details about how evolution works and natural selection, all that kind of stuff. But one takeaway that everyone should take away from, even if they just do a perusal of evolution, is to understand how things change very, very slowly over a period of time. And so slowly that you don't notice it. The only way that we know this change is occurring is when you take a mental snapshot of point A and point B, and the further away those 2 points are from each other, the more change is able to be recognized. And so I say that because when we live our lives day to day, 24/7, 365, society is going through changes that in real time we don't see. But it's not until you take a mental snapshot of, let's say, 2019, and then go back in your mind and just imagine everything you were doing and everything that was going on around you in 2009. That's the 10-year distance in time. Then you'll be like, wow, so much has changed now. And so if we don't take that reassessment as a community of people, we will get lost in the real time ebb and flow of society. And that's dangerous. That leaves us vulnerable because we can be conditioned and controlled. And so I say that because this topic of education and entertainment and stuff is a side effect of that. This is something that's affected by that, because originally to entertain something was to support it. And so education is supposed to be entertaining, but we have shifted entertainment into amusement and fun. And fun is really a trick and a hoax. And originally. And so I'm saying originally because, we don't use words when they're in the ways that they were first coined, and it's what we call etymology. So just because a word meant something in, 100 years ago doesn't mean that we use it the same way today. But it's good to understand the history of words, because you can see this evolution and how society is shaped by our understanding and our conceptualization of these things. And so this is what I'm saying. Education has become amusing instead of entertaining like it's supposed to. It's supposed to support. And what it's supposed to support is the ability to point out things as teachers, and then it's supposed to be able to extract things out of a person as educators. All right. So give me one moment. Someone's at my door, but I'll finish. I'll be right back.
T'Challa.
Yeah, T'Challa Bangoura.
Peace, family. He's so silly, man. Peace, everybody in the chat, everybody watching, everybody on the panel. This is a real good discussion. And it's always a privilege to be on the panel of individuals who really use critical thinking.
Back. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, let's Saber finish, and then I'll go ahead and go.
Okay, I apologize for that. I just had to attend to the door for a second. Yeah. So, I was just saying, I just wanted to kind of lay something out for everyone, because, like I said, I share the sentiments that I've been hearing so far. And the bar has been dropped like really, really far down where anybody could be a teacher, anybody could be anything nowadays, because there's no requisites, no prerequisites, and no requirements that has to be fulfilled before people become who they say they are, or declared who they claim to be. And so what we're calling education or these different platforms and things is not it, and it's because it's evolved over time to become what it is today. And so what I encourage everyone to do is to study the science of teaching. And there's two branches of teaching. Basically, you have andragogy and pedagogy. Andragogy is the science of teaching adults, and pedagogy is the science of teaching children. If you look and research into those things, there are certain things that are known that should take place in those endeavors. Children learn a little differently than adults. And there's reasons why. And psychology is a big part of all of this. But if you study those two sciences, you'll understand what ingredients need to be there in order to have, a fruitful outcome in that endeavor of trying to teach. And so a lot of us don't do that, don't know that, and maybe not even know to know. And so we have to kind of share and encourage people to do that, who are going to prop themselves up and become educators or teachers of our community. And so that's the sad part, is that people are really unqualified to teach or to educate. Remember, to educate someone is to bring something out of them that is already there, and to teach someone is to point out things to them. And so, although we just say one or the other, teacher or educator, both of those things should be incorporated into a person who's doing this kind of work. And people should take responsibility of caring for someone's mind, so much so that they understand the science of how teaching occurs. And none of this is really prevalent or going on. And it's been replaced with amusement. It's been replaced with all the other things that are detrimental, which is amusement and entertaining, instead of supporting the information that does teaching or educating. The entertainment is now being used to support egos and to support bad character and to support competition. And that's not a very productive way to advance and to expand knowledge of any community. And so if we don't change that up, things are not going to change. It's going to actually get worse and worse and worse. And with the advent of social media now and the internet, it's going to be worse exponentially, because things happen at lightning speed. Everybody has access to everything. So although we have access to good information, we have access to information, and whether it's good or bad. And so bad is just enough, as much bad information out there as good information, and we have access to it all. So if we don't learn discernment between the two, then we'll just swallow it whole and keep it moving, and we allow ourselves open to be vulnerable, and we'll always remain in the position that we are as a people, whatever the we and the us are is defined as. So I don't want to go on, but I just want to lay that out there for y'all.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. We're here from T'Challa, and then Setepenre. We ain't heard from you, neither, Setepenre, and then we'll get to Sister Kayla. I want to hear what Sister Kayla got. Her opinion and her thoughts on these things as well. We need that feminine balance. We appreciate you coming back on too, Sister Kayla. Go ahead, T'Challa.
All right. Once again, peace to everybody on the panel. And I was saying, I think it's important that we seek out individuals who think critically to um, place ourselves around in terms of when we're all seeking information, because Sable made a lot of great points. I caught some of the slides that Brother Kofi had put up. I caught a little bit of what Sean was saying. Brother said some key factors about education and is being bored, and Saber just really hit on the points of the sciences of teaching children versus adults. Um, I teach West African culture here in Chicago. I've been studying West African culture, particularly off the coast, when we talk about the Malian Empire, dealing with Keita, um, dealing with time periods surrounding Mansa Musa. We're talking about Malinke ethnic groups, Bambara people, Tambacounda region of Senegal. The Malinke people kind of spread around there as well. Countries that would today be known as Mali, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, things of that nature. And I really get in depth with the music from this region. Like many people, they pick a part of Africa and they focus on that and study that. And it's real important. But I have chosen this side based from the music point of view. And absolutely what Sable was saying about the science of how you teach children versus the science of how you teach adults. There is definitely an approach that I use in terms of when I teach children classes versus the classes that I have that are primarily adults. And when they are mixed, makes for an even more unique teaching environment, because now I have to stay relevant to both groups in terms of keeping their attention and everything like that. And a large part of communication is how you disseminate your information. Really, how are you coming across? What are you saying versus what's being perceived? And are you really communicating what you mean to communicate? And even if you're communicating that, is that the message that's being received? And a lot of times we have a problem with being able to process information. And it could be based on how it's being given to us. So a lot of us get turned off from trying to learn or seek better and more elevated ways of being, so to speak, um, because we get discouraged being in a learning environment that was a little challenging for us. And this is coming from some of my students who, children and adults alike, and everybody between, um, in terms of picking up this particular music from this part of West Africa. The djembe orchestra is very, very simple yet complex at the same time. Um, the music is all polyrhythmic and it involves a high level of concentration, like anything else. But it's a real interesting way the way these rhythms move. And even to this day, as a professional of 12 years, there's still rhythms that I hear sometimes. If you just walk in a room listening to somebody playing, you might hear that rhythm upside down and backwards. And sometimes you have to let the music stop and start again before you can reorient yourself, excuse me, of how you perceive what's going on based on the music. And I find that to be something that we have to look at in life as well. Sometimes we come across some information in life, or we come across a circumstance, and we're walking smack dab in the middle, not really paying attention to the different senses that's telling us red flags or telling us how to even perceive what's being brought forward. And so you will have grown men arguing about milk and should we be eating meat for protein, or should we, did this person do this and did this person do that? And all of us are back and forth bickering, walking into the same room, listening to the same rhythm, but all of us can have a different kind of understanding of how to approach this thing we're calling learning, communicating what we think we stand, and what's, did we really tell the truth, or tell or give people the right information in the right way where they can really receive what we mean to give them? Or did we just communicate a bunch of information that is not digestible on the other end? Um, a lot of times it's not how we even bring forth information, it's how we just, I mean, what we bring forth is how we're bringing forth the information. And so if I get on this panel and start yelling and screaming and trying to talk over everybody, number one, I'm pretty sure I'll be kicked off the panel pretty quickly. Look at Brother Kofi nodding his head. So, you know, we understand that good character is at the center of everything that you do. And it is very important that if we seek to entertain or educate, we can do both, because as a musician, I have to do both. I am part of the fellow Rio keeper of tradition in terms of the role I've chosen to be in my society, in my surroundings. I have chosen to be one of the keepers of the knowledge of rhythms, customs, traditions from that region. No one else is, you know, teach that unless they are another individual who is taken upon the same role to actually teach and keep that tradition. And because I have chosen to do this and to seek out the teachers who are from those regions, who come here to be a part of the community that hosts master drummers and dancers and put on concerts and allow people to see authentic West African drum and dance, that is something that, you know, like the people on the panel and on their various endeavors, that's what we have chosen to do. We put up presentations. We try to teach the community about what African culture is. Tell them about naming ceremonies and what that means in Africa. Tell them that marriage is the most important ceremony, so that we can understand the idea of unity and coming together to build, just like ancient Kemet did, to really unify from Delta on down. And we have to have the same mentality when it comes to educating our baby, because like Seneb said, the key is in those babies. Um, And so, not to be long-winded myself, I just wanted to kind of share that I am a fellow educator here in Chicago, and I definitely agree with the points that have been made by the brothers on the platform.
Go ahead, Tip, and then Sister Callie, we'll hear from you. Get your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm more of a proponent of entertainment, just based off I believe Seneb said it earlier. You need some form of entertainment to captivate the audience, or who you're trying to teach. You gotta give them some form of entertainment to spark their brain, because with social media nowadays, it dumbed everybody's attention span down. So you gotta give them some form of entertainment. I was doing this job training one time, and it was like a leadership type of deal, and you had to sit through these classes, and we grown adults in there, and you just sitting there listening to dude talk, you kind of bored. So he would, like, every 30 minutes or so, he would make us get up, and we'd do like some type of interactive game with each other that still dealt with the topic, but it was just some form of entertainment to get us up. Just because our attention span is so low nowadays, to where somebody's speaking for a long period of time, you start to daydream, or you start to wonder, you look at your phone, you're looking outside, just attention span. So I believe some form of entertainment to a certain extent is necessary. And yeah, that's just my piece on it. A lot of brothers said a lot of good things, so I don't want to beat a dead horse. So yeah, that's my opinion. We'll pass it over to the sister Kayla.
Oh, hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, you good, sis.
Peace to everybody on the panel in the chat room. Thank you, Kofi, for allowing me on here. Shh. Shh. Sorry. Um. No, you. You didn't do no more. I don't want to be redundant or anything, because I definitely agree with what was said. So maybe take it to the other side of it, and like, what's the solution to everything that was, all the points that was just made? Because we also have to look at it as though the children are definitely important, and those are our main priority and focus. But unfortunately, we have those adults who do not share the same um, views as us, and so they are just as a detriment to the children and community as well. And how do you go about uh, changing that? Because these people are grown, and they're choosing to be ignorant, because you got a phone, you got a computer, you got a tablet, you got something, so you have access to every information that you can possibly want to know. So how are we going to, because we are definitely outnumbered by ignorance, we are definitely outnumbered. So how are we going to fix that? Because I have run into people, like, just recently I was going back and forth about homeschooling my kid, and my very own people, homeschool, why do you want to homeschool? Why would you want to do that? Like, why wouldn't I want to do that? And so that's like another issue. Right now I'm trying to get a co-op to where we can have a homeschool where it's not just put on one parent, because I know it's women with multiple children, so I can understand they gotta work, come home, feed the children and stuff like that. But if you make time for entertainment, you can make time for the more important things, and that's where we have to all collectively excuse me, collectively take responsibility and really start being a role model, a positive role model to our children. Because nowadays, look at what entertainment that our children mostly watch. It's not positive in any type of form or fashion, if you ask me. um I mean, I watch certain things, but I don't pay for cable, so I don't watch TV like that. So I want to know something, I go read an article or look it up on the internet. So yes, you have to have balance, but you also have to have the desire to want to educate yourself, and if you have children. Um, so that's, I don't want to be long winded, but that's my my point in it too. Like we have to figure out what are we going to do as far as solutions and you know, getting people to get on a ball game, because like after 500 plus years we still at the bottom. This is absurd to me. It just doesn't make sense. It there's no reason for it at all. It really isn't. But like I said, we outnumbered. So that's all
I
I'm gonna
think
say.
to answer that from what I see, we need to see a reemergence in the understanding in making a distinguish in between discipline versus punishment. Because we can argue that teaching is a discipline you have to learn. Learning is itself is a discipline that has to be acted upon. Entertainment can be a form of a discipline because it's a trained aspect of life. You may have to go to art schools in order to become an actor. So that's a discipline. Punishment is when you go against that very discipline itself in a non conducive manner to that form of discipline. We have become so stagnated in the idea of learning and becoming disciplined in the aspect of rebellion seem to be a way of going against the system, that the discipline of being rebellious has been promoted for so long, it's got away from us and it's took us off track. So what we really need to do in this moment is learn a way to level the playing field. It's okay to have entertainment. We know we need that. We all agree to it. To a degree, we all need it. We can see the goods, we can see the bad. The problem is when it's no longer disciplined and it's free for all. If there's no rules, if it's okay to identify women in anything in a degrading aspect, to not teach a lesson other than you don't want to be that, then the discipline is lost. And it allows for this non-productive behavior to keep manifesting. Um, so that's one big part of it. To kind of see this, think of Lean on Me. This is one of the, it actually hurt my feelings as I grew older watching it. That movie bothered me so much because majority of the people, their favorite scene is the brother singing in the bathroom, not the transformation that took place, that these kids were saved. Most people remember just the singing in that's the highlight of the film versus someone coming in showing the results of what discipline can happen. It wasn't that he was punishing anybody. He made a distinction. We got good kids, they need to learn. We got problems, we need discipline, we need order, we need structure. And he went outside of the norm, showing up to people's houses. We have to do that. We have to form a new idea of discipline for our culture to get to the next steps, because as we know, things change in time and we're in transitional periods. So um, we need to identify that. I don't want to get too long-winded, but and I'm still wondering if I can be heard. My phone is acting kind of crazy today. But that's where I would say a starting point would be is identifying the difference between discipline and punishment. And then
I like that, boss. I like how you put that because, in my understanding, a learned action is considered a discipline, because you got to be disciplined to even obtain knowledge in the subject matter. Now, when you get in trouble and stuff, we like to say, "Oh, we discipline our children." Even in ancient Kemet, you could see on the walls where they was writing where the teacher will pull out the stick. We got a joke in the chat where we say, when the brothers start acting crazy, we go, "Oh, we're gonna put a stick out on it." You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, most learned action is a discipline, and you just have to be disciplined in your form of entertainment that you absorbing as well. Because like when I was saying I'm for entertainment, I'm for educational entertainment. I'm not for none of that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to be disciplined enough to say, I'm not going to watch Love and Hip Hop. I'm not going to watch all that Basketball Wives and on all that stuff, because it's it'll influence your life, it'll influence your relationship. Because them girls on there acting like that, you know, your or the guys as well. And I ain't even just gonna put it on the women. The guys on there as well. You know, you may start exhibiting some of them behaviors in your relationship with your significant other. So you gotta have discipline not to use that as a form of entertainment. Just don't even mess with it. So yeah, I like the way you put that, Vyasa.
Yeah, we need to also discipline some of these conscious community platforms. I mean, people know how I feel about a lot of these platforms. I don't care if they fool with me or not. But I mean, and because I mean, it's the I mean, what upsets me is the things, the very things people are they're being misled and being taught certain things, and then they come across some guys like us or some women like Sister Kayla, uh, Dr. Oyama Odd, Sister Cobb and them. You come across these types of sisters, Sister Juju, and etc. You know, and you hear some information that you never heard before. You know what I'm saying? So now you want to be re-educated. The things that was taught to me, you know what I'm saying, I no longer want. I don't want to be surrounded around foolish and stuff. And then I mean, and that's what breaks my heart is we come straight to this social media or this so-called conscious. Everybody's supposed to be conscious. Everybody's supposed to be aware, you know what I'm saying, of certain things, you know what I'm saying, what to do, not to do, and etc. And then we go and we look toward individuals who speak with proper rhetoric, you know what I'm saying, speak with big words, speaking eloquent, you know, talking about some things that, like I said again, far into our ears, you know what I'm saying, and try to gravitate toward those things. But when we go to look for these people to educate us, again, all they want to do, man, is entertain us, man. I mean, and it's just a shame, man. It's become um a boxing match. You know, just like I don't know, was it brother Sean or Neb that was talking about, you know, put it in the fashion of putting you got one man in the middle and then you got two over here, and he's the referee and the other two's fighting. They talking about each other. They talking about eating their babies. They talking about beating each other up. You know, it's just so much uh foolishness going on, and I think we need to start holding a lot of these other platforms accountable for their actions. We need to stop watching a lot of these platforms, man. We need to start banning a lot because a lot of these people I see, I don't know how in the world are we still watching, are we still participating or helping or buying or patronizing a lot of these other platforms and other individuals when we see that a lot of these people don't have your best interest in heart. It's about putting up a bunch of content so they can continue to get paid. In order for me to continue to get paid, I have to continue to entertain these people because they already know they praying on a week. They already know most of the people in the community are illiterate. Most of us ain't gonna go read a darn thing. So we gonna go and we'll have a good time on. We'll look at another black man degrade a black woman on there. We'll look at another black man stroke his ego to make another person feel foolish. You know what I'm saying? And crazy, man. We just need to start holding these other platforms and other individuals accountable, um, accountable for their actions, man. We just need to stop watching the confusion, man. I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't care how none of them feel about Kofi. I really don't. I really don't.
Hey,
Kofi.
oh,
Go ahead, Sam.
no, I was gonna say, I, you know, to speak on Sister Kayla's question, like, what's the other side of this flip side? Because, you know I'm preaching to the choir. I pretty much heard the sentiments of everybody on the panel, at least, and then I'm kind of familiar with everyone's position on the panel when it comes to this topic. So I know I'm preaching to the choir. But and I've been saying these things for the longest time. Certain platforms, certain use of platforms and stuff like that. But as far as the solution, you know, I think it goes back to summarily goes back to what I was saying. There needs to be an awareness of the science of teaching. Like everything is microwave today. Like there's nothing where you have to go through trials and tribulations to achieve something nowadays. Now that we have internet and social media, some people are waking up and all of a sudden they're instant master teachers, they're instant rappers, instant producers, instant everything. There, you know, there's no journey that people are taking now, and because the look, the gift of gab, and the ego and the competition is at the forefront now. Anybody that do those things well, they come out on top, and so they become the norm now, and that's what we're dealing with. So if we go back to understanding the science of teaching, how teaching is done and what is necessary. Like, for example, Setepenre mentioned, like he said, you know, teaching needs entertainment. But now if we understand what that really is, the reason why we're even saying that is because when you learn something, when you're being disciplined, which is when you're being learned and you're learning something, we do it through trance. And so when you teach and people are falling asleep, that's actually a good thing. I mean, it's a good sign, I should say. But you have to interject entertainment to break up that trance, and then put them back in the trance. So you have to have intervals of breaking out of the trance and then putting people back into trance, out of trance, into trance, out of trance. And we're calling that out of trance mechanism entertainment. And so if we understood the science of that, then we'll develop a fruitful entertainment during the learning process, not what we see today, which is really what I said earlier, amusement, which ties into being fun, which is tricking people, getting people to laugh, and it caters towards egos, adversarial, opposition, competition, and all that other kind of stuff. So if we understood all of this, then we'll set up things and put things in place to facilitate that whole entire process. But it takes time for people to do this. We need more people to take this serious and actually implement it and execute it. And along with what Brother Kofi was saying in terms of not giving life to the things that we see that's a problem. Anything that's detrimental to us, we need to shake it off. Like, why make stupid people famous? Why entertain? When I say entertain, I mean, why pay attention to that which is detrimental to us? And the Sister Kayla said something that's our reality. There's a ratio disparity. This kind of talk is outnumbered tremendously by people who do what we're talking about. So what can we do? And when you have that ratio, you have to do things a certain way. You can't act like that doesn't exist. So like I said, we have to really get back to the science of teaching, understand how to actually teach, and then execute it. And what's going to happen is it's going to be an overall incident. At the end of the day, it's going to end up being clean glass sitting next to a dirty glass, and you have to let people decide on which glass to drink from. That's what it's going to end up being. So what we could do, or people of this kind of mindset, is to develop and become competent in the science of teaching and everything. And if you want to become a teacher, whatever, then set up the pristine, pure, clean glass, and then let it set next to the dirty glass, and people choose. That's it. That's all we could do, because people are adults. People are going to do what they do, but you got to at least give them the opportunity and give them the option. And that's it. So I don't want to get all into the details of stuff. Yeah. That's what it is.
I mean, I can agree with what the brothers said, and I think on a larger scale, we gotta dead the whole conscious. Everybody's conscious. Everyone is aware of themselves. What we gotta start asking people is, do you have a knowledge of who you are? And in that, do you have knowledge of who you are? Do you care about finding out who you are? So if they don't care, we don't have to worry about dedicating our time and energy to them. Again, it's quality over quantity. I can care less if I put up a video up on our channel, NBK, and it gets 500 views. I don't care. Because within those 500 people, I hope I just reach one person that want to pick up a text or a source that I threw in that video and just read it and pass along to their children. I want to make sure that we're not confusing the popularity of some of these personalities on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook as meaning their information is right and exact or true and living. It's the quality of the information in this. We don't have to necessarily get everybody in the same house at the same time and teach them. Nah, again, it should be about teaching the babies. And this whole conscious thing has become almost a fad. Everybody wants to be conscious. Everybody's throwing up a fist now. Everybody is, what I mean? It's my grandfather used to talk about it as if, someone's favorite shoes that they only decide to wear when they're going on outings or if it's a holiday. So them the ones that I kind of want to shy away from, because my blackness is something that's 24/7, 365. You see what I'm saying? So if you associate yourself with those individuals who only want to be popular or only want to scream black power when it's beneficial to them to fatten their pockets, you dig what I'm saying? It kind of takes the value out of the information that they're even trying to give. So, I'm okay with the small minority of those who just want to learn and build. And I don't want to go, and I don't think there's anybody, that not over here or anywhere else that you're not in it to really just be a teacher. I know for me, I'm just a brother from the country who like to read, and I associated myself with some people who also like to read, and we build. That's how I see it, and that's how I see myself. But this wanting to be a teacher and wanting to be popular, at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's all about the monetary value, or I'm popular, or I got so many followers on Facebook and Instagram, when it shouldn't be about that. If I can reach one person out there, there's one baby that's listening and the sound of my voice, just understand who you are and have knowledge of self. You see what I'm saying? And take that time to actually read the text, study, engage with other people, find those in your community or the surrounding areas that also have that same appetite, you know what I'm saying, for the amelioration of their mind. And there's nothing wrong with having, a verbose lexicon, or you can speak well. There's nothing wrong with that. We should want to push that, because somehow this moniker of Ebonics has been, stamped on us as if that's the only way we know how to speak. There's nothing wrong with proper speech. But when that proper speech is utilized to put oppressed people in a trance so you can get money out their pocket, you know better than Jimmy Swagger or any of those other late night preachers who selling, water out their faucet to people, telling them that it'll get money, it'll put money in their pocket. So there's nothing wrong with that, and we should actually be trying to get that push in to all the people. But and as far as the entertain those other channels, people are going to want to be entertained. It's going to happen. I can care less if those channels get 10,000 views per video. That's just not. For me, I just want to associate myself with them channels, because that'll mess around and knock you off your path of what you trying to do. You spending your time, you watching one of them silly videos. Next thing you know, you in the chat arguing with somebody who clearly doesn't have a clue what you're talking about. They're just being a contrarian just cause they just want to argue. So sometimes I have to catch myself, like, let me get up out this chat, because it's not going anywhere. You see what I'm saying? So when you get to that point where you got people who are not receptive to information, they're not trying to digest it, the cognitive dissonance is kicking in to where now they're getting angry and they're yelling and cussing about silliness and minutia. It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to build with the brothers and sisters who actually care about liberating themselves and actually care about studying history to the point to where they can pass that down to their children and other, people within their communities. So.
Hey, that's good. I'll just say something real quick, and then I have to roll off. But I enjoy this conversation. And when I roll out, if y'all continue, I'm gonna definitely pick up where I left off and listen to it. But I just want to say this, that we have a lot of work to do, and we act like we don't. And I say we, and like I said, whatever that we is and that us is, because it could be we as in us on the panel or we collectively. But we got to change. And I always say we got to push a paradigm shift. And quality over quantity is a perfect way of putting it. And that's what I meant by, the clean glass next to the dirty glass, because the dirty glass could be a gallon. The clean glass could be a shot. But as long as it's clean, it's still all good. And that's what we have to strive for, and give people the option, to be able to discern and choose. Because the likes and the views, that's a new day currency. And that's what people are striving for. And our priorities are really messed up. the hierarchy of our priorities and focus is really, really messed up. We want to do things for likes and views as opposed to the actual productive outcome of our actions and things like that. So we really got to get it together as a whole. And those of us who are already up on this kind of mindset, just do your best and keep things, polished, professional, and like I said, set up that clean glass, or as Seneb said, the quality over the quantity. Don't worry about the quantity, just keep up with the quality. But I do want to say something about character. The truthfulness of a claim or the accuracy of a claim is independent of a person's character. I could have the worst character ever, but what I'm saying or my claim could be 100% accurate. Or flip side, I could have the best character out there, but what I'm saying or my claims could be completely wrong, inaccurate. So the role of character in that regard, in the accuracy or inaccuracy of something, good character is the better facilitator of information, whether it's right or wrong. And we got to be mindful of that, because you have people nowadays who use that in as a tool in this adversarial debating back and forth, where they will put on a face of being good and polite and stuff like that, but then spitting some bad information. Whereas a person who may be all emotional and kind of get frustrated and flustered, they could be saying something accurate, but because they got out of pocket, they're seen a certain way. And that's unfair. So we got to keep all of this in mind, and we got to understand that it's strategy with all this stuff. And I'm telling you, study pedagogy and andragogy, understand the sciences of those and the strategies and the things that are necessary to make those things happen, and we'll be okay. If we take those things serious, we'll be okay. And more of us do that, we'll be okay. But anyway, I just wanted to leave that in.
Say before you go, I just got a question. How do you? And I'm asking for myself. How do you? Those, like you said, you mentioned good character, you mentioned bad character. One that may have bad character, may be talking and speaking and presenting the accurate information, and then you flipped it vice versa. So with me, it's a turnoff for me if I don't care if I can't get past the character. If a person has bad character, it's a turn off to me. So even if I'm there to try to listen and try to gain some understanding about certain things, I can't listen to the person because the person has bad character. I mean, it's just so it turns me out. So what can a person like me do when they trying to learn, even though the person may have good and accurate information, but their character is a turnoff, that you don't even want to listen to what the person has to say. You don't even want to learn from this person because it is exhibiting bad character.
Right. Okay. So that's a good question. And that's what I meant. And now, I'm trying to be quick, so I didn't explain myself, but that's what I mean. The character of a person is completely independent of the accuracies of, what they say, but good character or character itself is the facilitator. So if a person has bad character, then it is unfortunate on the end of the audience or the listeners or the people who are trying to learn. It's unfortunate. A person with good character, it's a fortunate situation. And so what it is, it ends up being a bridge. So a person with bad character is a real thin bridge that's about to break. A person with good character is a nice wide bridge made of cement, and everything is all good. Everything can flow that way. That's the role of character that comes in this part of learning education. So if a person has bad character, they're going to turn you off, and it's just unfortunate. So, and that's just how it is, and that's how it's gonna be. So you asking what can you do? We're not supposed to enable people with bad character. So I know traditionally in Africa and different African communities, leading on up today, a person has bad character, you're supposed to turn them off, turn that channel off. You're supposed to, and you're supposed to take that hit, that L. that sacrifice. It's unfortunate, but that's the sacrifice we have to make. A person with bad character should never be encouraged or enabled. We should never enable someone, be an enabler of a person with bad character. We should push and promote good character. All right. And because a person, see, this is the difference. A person with good character, even if they are spitting wrong information, their character will allow them to be corrected. A person with bad character, if they happen to kick some bad information, they're not hearing it. They're not being corrected. They're not hearing it. So in the end of the day, you're better off in terms of your net, because you got your gross and your net. You're gonna net better dealing with somebody with good character and bad information than somebody with bad character and good information. Period. So hope that's clear. But I got to roll. But I really appreciate it. I like this conversation. I'm gonna come back and check out the end of it. But I just have to roll out. All right. So I appreciate that from everybody.
All right.
Appreciate you,
Peace,
joining.
Saber.
Peace.
All right, so I
Peace,
just
Saber.
want to piggyback off of everything that y'all been saying real quick, but I'm gonna give it a little bit of a different perspective. I don't know if Kofi want me to even read what I read earlier, which made a lot of sense, but I just want to summarize how we actually got to this point of where we are at this time. Um, Sadeb is very familiar with what I'm about to say. But this process of being what we want to call so-called conscious or aware of ourselves transitioned when we um, had to go and fight for our own history and our own rights. And now, when I say that, I'm talking about the founder, the creator of the African. I mean, it was once upon a time going to be named African, but it was changed to American Negro Academy. When you talk about Mr. Crummell and the whole transition and the push for literacy and scholarship um, out of the academy, um, you know, or the institution of the academy was to be set up to right wrong and correct history. That means it challenged American history, just like the Jews challenged American history, just like the Chinese challenged American history, just like other European nations challenged American history. They all set up these institutions to be able to do that, whether it was scientifically, economically, historically, and the lack thereof. But all of these things were centered around um, their culture and being able to, nah, this is wrong about American history. This is what actually happened to us and our people, so on and so forth. But let's do this for the greater good of our people so that we can move forward. And the push for literature, arts, crafts, economic consciousness, historical consciousness was something that we needed in the late 1800s, and we still need today, and we're basically recycling this. So people were thinking, was speaking of, so what's the other side of it? The other side of it is for us to demand and push for this literacy, to demand and push for, whether it's scientific literacy, whether it's historical literacy, like you say, because at the end of the day, these things were set up to teach the babies, the next generation. We are failing ourselves by not, okay, the baton was dropped. We're failing ourselves by not picking up the baton and carrying it further than where it was dropped. Okay, we lost a leg in a relay. We did. We may have lost two legs in a relay, depending on where you want to go in that. If some of the we still have some people out there that are still running the race as we can speak, but we somewhere dropped the leg because we allowed other avenues to creep into what was supposed to be an endeavor to push this agenda to encourage us to be more than what we are today, to further our studies and our positions in America. So we're not challenging who we're supposed to be challenging and furthering our positions in America because we are too entertained. Now, I agree with everybody. Like, if if entertainment is your thing, that's the only way you in it. You like mess, you like turmoil. That's what you're gonna do. Cool. That's you. That's what you're gonna do. You stay stuck. But I am for the advancement of all aspects of the sciences, that some people like to argue that we just created everything. so so if you feel like we created everything, then what are you doing in the process of understanding that advancement to your children, so that we can move them forward? Because we're going to have to now rely on them. We are transitioning into another phase in our time, and if we don't seize the moment in our time, then we too will have dropped the baton on the next generation, and then we're going to be hoping that they can correct our wrong, just like the baby boomer era. Some people say that era where all these babies were made and all these things that transitioned, and the boom that happened in that era, you know, a baton was dropped. I'm gonna say, from the level of who these, like Seneb say, everybody's supposed to be conscious. Okay, great. But I'm gonna say that this metaphysical era, this era of bad information, that is a baton dropped, because the era before that generation, there were literature review. There was great things, as you see on. You can go on NBK channel right now, and you can go on Facebook right now, where Kofi and myself and others have made a joint effort in trying to bring up some of these things, so people can be like, okay, so this is what we were doing at this period of point of time, and this is what's going on with that, and maybe I do need to do this, because really we are trying to reach one, but we also trying to teach one. We're not claiming or proclaiming to be teachers. Our teacher just left the panel. So the majority of us, our teacher just left the panel. So what we're inspiring to do, or try to do, is to have other people, get serious about whatever it is that you're doing. If you're serious about it and you think that it's going to help the greater good of our people and our plight and our struggle here in America, we got to do something about it. There's some problems that are coming in the future that we're going to have to attend to and address. And in short, I'm just gonna say
Brother
what I
Trump,
got to say. Go ahead.
real quick, I just wanna ask you a quick question. My bad on cutting you off,
No,
but
no, you good.
just wanna so when you mentioned earlier about a baton being dropped, okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
elaborate on what you're meaning by a baton getting dropped, so we can just clarify for the people that's listening.
Okay.
So we can just clarify what are we saying, so no one takes this as a charge against any elders or ancestors.
Gotcha.
So so when let's address when we would consider a baton being dropped, a time frame. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying?
Okay. I'm going to say, in the era of really recently, within the past 20 years, I'm going to say a baton has been dropped. And I'm saying the last 20 years because, um, it's not all of the 20 years. I'm just rounding about. It could be a lot shorter. But there was a transition in literature review. There was a transition in economic understanding. There was a historical transition that had happened and occurred, and where we, some kind of way, we became less scientific, less historical, less economical, less creative. Remember, we come from an era of great creationists, from the perspective of being able to create and duplicate things, because we made a way out of no way. Like, if you looked around the history of America and you go through the early history, they gave us scraps, and we made the most of the scraps for a long period of time. They put us through all kind of hellhole and turmoil, and some kind of way we had these class levels, if we want to say these class levels within our own, that were able to still generate some type of wealth, some type of educational status, some type of bar that was raised, that we could look to and inspire to be. Whether it was shining shoes, and shining shoes led to a shoe shining business. It didn't matter. We got away from the engineering aspect of everything, and then we started to believe more. We started to wish more, hope more, And then we started to fall into a lane of bad information. I'm not going to necessarily say all bad information. I'm just going to say the influence of information shifted when we wanted to be um, too occultish, too too centered in ignorance, less scientific, less historical, and let's just go with a narrative of, okay, we created everything, and that's just good enough. When we started to feel too good about history, that's when the tide changed. We did not have a competitive balance that went along with these one side of the lane um, feeling this particular way, and then another side of the lane feeling this particular way, and us being able to compare and contrast these ideals side by side, and then kind of get to the root of the actual problem. Like you had the great ancestor Malcolm feeling a type of way about information in his era. You had uh, the great Dr. Khalid Muhammad feeling the type of way about information in his era. You even had Dr. Martin Luther King and so, and I'm mentioning these people for a particular reason, but these are things that some people can relate to in information in his type of era. You had all these different ideals that were going on, but the thing about it is when it was time to get serious, it's like in the last 20 years we have become less serious and and more reliable on a belief. And I think that that's what I mean by dropping the ball. If we go and we look at all the literature that seems to be dominating the conversations as of recent and within the past, yeah, we're going to find good authors. We're going to find great information, but they are less talked about. And that's why you tune into MBK, because you get that information that has been less talked about, and it's brought to you at your front door. You hear about these things that dang, that happened in 1986, but I was a kid then. It don't even matter that you were a kid then, but this actually transitioned in the time that you were just a kid and you didn't even know about it today. And it's the fact that you can reach back just that close to your livelihood to understand the time and the time frame of an event and how it was handled. And I just really think that when I say that, and I'm not pissing on anybody, and I don't want to throw shots at anybody, but I just really think that that time frame in the last 20, man, has been
Mhm.
has been crucial.
And let me, I'm gonna throw this in, and again, I don't want to take up everybody else's time, but I'm gonna give you a different perspective. And if you want to, what I'm saying, counter it, I'm cool with that because again, I like this conversation as well. I would not, me personally, Saneb, I would never suggest that any generation either dropped the ball or didn't pass the baton because there's external forces that got us to this point. And one thing, one of the and in the NBK batch, and we had this conversation sometimes. We don't talk about the '60s and how the '60s really the the events that happened in that decade really affected us. When we talk about our leadership, not only being either getting weary and tired, but they're being dispatched. And when I say dispatched, I mean killed or removed. So when we talk about losing Medgar, when we talk about losing Malcolm, when we talk about losing Martin, Fred Hampton, you see what I'm saying? That Just imagine if that leadership was here right now. Dig? So when we talk about the a community, a culture, we have no culture. There are no rules because when those events happen, just the feeling of having to deal with that pain, like we just lost Nipsey Hussle, and a lot of people are very, saddened by the loss and to see the effects of it. And that's a rap artist who are doing great things in the community. Just imagine losing Medgar, Malcolm, Martin, Fred Hampton, back to back to back. And then we look at West Africa and losing a Biko, a Patrice Lumumba. You see what I'm saying? Uprooting and Kwame Nkrumah. You see what I'm saying? And just the effects of losing not only leadership here in the Americas, but global leadership, where you have
you have those kind of figures preaching education and galvanizing the youth to want to go pick up a book and read and study and have these lyceums where we all get together and do battle. Not no, organization where everybody is agreeing with each other. No, that's not gonna bring progress. Throwing back and forth ideas and actually building and having those conversations respectfully and using tact and being able to, like, at the end of the day, come to an agreement, or even if we don't agree, being able to move separately but have the same goal in mind. You see what I'm saying? The fact that we lost that many leaders at that time really, threw the community back a little bit, and it left a gap. So when you have other people coming in with different schools of thought, yeah, but that's not nothing new. There's always been the latter conversation, the 10% conversation that's always had its, self around our communities. But when you have lack of community, you have lack of culture, and we preach it at NBK every time we get on. Our organization, we are not organized. We are there's a bunch of Negroes running around doing what they want to do, and then when we do organize, not only do we have black folks going that organization because they may disagree with their ideology, you got the United States government throwing out black identity extremists. Now what? Now we having, and when you do get an organization that sifts through the bull, becomes a public movement, it gets co-opted by other cultures, and now we have to accept other people and bring them in. So that's that strife right there, the class struggle over the race struggle. That's always been within our community since we began dealing with Alma Alpha. You see what I'm saying? So let's just take all those things in totality before. Not you, bro, Sean. I'm not saying you doing, but before.
Ah, you
I've
good.
seen it before. I've seen it before online where people say, "Oh, our elders ain't do nothing for us, or our elders dropped the ball." When the very ground you walking on is because of an elder or an ancestor. But when you don't know the history, well, I believe what Dr. Clark said: if you don't know your history, any history would do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know who came before you and built these institutions and built these organizations, you may not even know existed. You see what I'm saying? That's when the seriousness comes behind study. Brother True Story hit me with something hard last night. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm X Liberation University is where I'm from, and I didn't know nothing about it until last night. It just goes to show you how much, no matter how many books I got on my shelf or in my closet, how much we still don't know.
May I chime in for just a second on this point?
Go ahead.
I wouldn't argue that the baton was dropped in the aspect of, um, in that sense. I would argue the reverse caused the problem. The baton was failed to pick up because of a lot of the things y'all just spoke on. When we seen all that drama and trauma taking place, the new thing, especially in manhood, and I'm not going to say it pertains to everybody, but you've seen an increase in it. Stand up for what? So I can get killed like Malcolm? So I can get killed like Martin? They kill our leaders. Therefore, us pushing the baton became more recognized with self preservation by not pushing the ball forward. And that's what caused the baton to drop. And when we look at it, these men didn't they didn't separate themselves from the group. And that was the key component. So when we say, well, how can we change this? A lot of it, we have to identify something that most of us don't want to do, and that's sacrifice. Sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. We're going to have to sacrifice time. We're going to have to sacrifice resources in order to show, to truly, truly show how important this aspect of life is. Because we can't expect people who don't know and are not being offered the potential to learn to ever learn. If there's a room that's locked and there's no light switch in it and there's no windows in it, how can you blame those that's in that room for never turning on the light, even though there's a light in there, but the switch to turn it on is outside, and the mechanism to unlock that door is outside? If you get where I'm going with that.
Yeah. What I was saying in regard to like the dropping the ball, as far as I'm just meaning like I I'm in total agreement with what Sunev's saying and what you were saying, boss. I'm in total agreement with that. But what I mean by dropping the ball from a perspective of the educational tools that were set forth to be passed down. Like when I look back and I'm looking at these institutions that came through hard struggles. For instance, one of the books Danny threw out, True Story threw out, and I read was that we are an African people. And I read that book and I go through that and I'm looking like this was like this whole issue with the educational system and how we were so detached and all over the place and the infighting. You're absolutely right. There's so many, and then the killings. You take all that in consideration. But what I mean by that is that at at a time where we should have been pushing uh, to study more historically, more scientifically, all having the introduction of we shouldn't be learning what methodology is. Some of us shouldn't be learning what methodology is at this point in time in our lives. There should have already been thing, and there have been, but the work has been unnoticed. But the push for a TEP-HESAP correct method and to go through these things scientifically to be able to solve critical problems should already be accustomed to some of us and already in literature review. I just think the failure in the late publications or the recent not late I'm sorry the recent publications didn't do the justice of our elders works who sacrificed so much more to get all of this even to us today. So when I say the ball drop, I'm just literally speaking of from a perspective of it not being taken care of. Like Arthur Schomburg is real big, the true story, but Mr. Schomburg's story and his livelihood and his contribution to our community is the like one of the most valuable. It's no less than any other great member that have organized to put forth academies and institutions. And people in the community don't even know who Schomburg really is. And that's not true historian's fault because he talks about him so much all the time that I was like, man, look, my kid doing a gonna do a Black History month. His presentation was on Schomburg, and I bought the book, and we going through the book, and I'm telling them, okay, let's do this. Schomburg influence too. People cling to John Henry Clark. Dr. John Henry Clark. People cling to Dr. John Henry Clark for so many great reasons. But did you know that he was even inspired by Mr. Schomburg? You know what I'm saying? So we gotta, we the literature review and the press for good information. We have to. I'm saying as a solution here is to push that. We have to encourage writing. We have to encourage art. We have to encourage history. We have to encourage the development of science and the proper methodology and so forth within our own right. And that's really where I'm going with it, man. At the end of the day, I just think that some of these things are not in proper context, and we tend to, because of laziness and appealing to authority and so many different things like that, we take the lazy route and we just say, you know what, I'm gonna just be entertained by two fools arguing over milk. You see what I'm saying? So
Hey, Sean, can
yeah,
I
go
ask
ahead.
you a question before we get away from this
Yeah.
aspect? With the baton being dropped, and I'm only asking this partially for myself and then partially because you'll see this conversation take place. Could we make an argument that the baton got dropped because of integration into schools and us losing the power to place a value on what aspects of education are needed for us? If you get what
That
I'm trying to ask by
yeah
that
yeah yeah yeah
question.
yeah yeah. That would be a
Big, big, big,
great.
because if you look at it, and let's not look at the elites. Let's just look at the common everyday household coming out
Hmm.
of slavery and going through Jim Crow. How many parents was probably really, really pushing their kids? And I'm not talking about the elites that we seen get things done, not to take away from their greatness, but how many was probably saying, "Baby girl, baby boy, I need you to learn so you can be better than what I am. I need you to learn how to read. That's important. I need you to know math so no one can steal from you. I need you to know how to do this so they can't take nothing from you." Then we sit back, we finally start building our own schools, and people make a argument that can go both ways, that integration was a mistake, but we don't know why integration took place in the first place. We was battling for resources. So that idea of, okay, well, now I got my son in a school where there is a science lab, he's going to have a greater opportunity. But what we didn't see is we gave up our power to say, give us our science lab so I can teach our students um, these different disciplines. Because, and this is the piggyback off of something I seen Monica say. She said, I don't want to put her on blast, but she spoke in the chat towards her feelings being hurt that she didn't get to learn French. I don't know if that was her family
Yeah,
or her people or whatever
yeah,
it
yeah,
was.
yeah. Her family.
But when I look back, just studying Oklahoma history, and no one taught me this, I had to learn it on my own. When I read that it was common for the black males in the 1800s of pre-Oklahoma history, because this is before statehood, to be literate and up to at a minimum of three languages. They knew English, they knew Greek, and they knew Latin. Now, majority of my friends can't write a paragraph, and to reward it for it with society shifting into that and them gaining power. Look how people text each other, look how they write on social media. If anybody ever seen me write giggles, it's because I refuse to play a part of the abbreviation game. I will write giggles to combat people saying LOL, because it's important. For I can't tell my children one thing and me not act on it. So instead of me telling my daughter, if I text her, because due to my son's autism, she got a phone early. Otherwise, she would have never had it. Everything I write to her is in a proper format because I want her to subconsciously know that this is how it's supposed to. Don't sell yourself short, baby girl. Show people that you are intelligent. You don't have to show them that you are a fool and entertaining. Show that you are intelligent because people will respect you more in the outskirts for that. I didn't want to get too long winded, but
Yeah, yeah. To answer your question, that would be an excellent argument. Integration was the downfall of many things in the black community because we wanted to integrate with those who we felt the need to want to be like in some instances, or close to, or we wanted the acceptance of. So yeah, I would say that would be an excellent argument.
Yeah,
Integration did take some of our mojo, some of
yeah.
our
and
mojo for us, and you will see that in like I said, we are an African people. Would argue that as well. So yeah, I'm gonna be
and and,
quiet now, man. I talked a whole
and
lot.
I don't want to go too far when we say integration, in the aspect of full aspects of it into society and the economics. But I mean strictly in the aspect of education, because if you think about it, that's where we lost the ability to teach of all these great names that we spoke about. Because due to integration, we have to learn their history.
Right.
So
We
we
had to
get
give
hit
up.
with yeah, we gave up Omega Evans for George Washington.
Yeah.
We gave up knowing who John Henry Clark was. And let's not make a mistake. There's a lot of beauty into this social media movement, because how many people know John Henry Clark now because of YouTube?
Hmm.
If you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
So there are benefits and rewards to it. The problem is we have to go back to what I think is the most fundamental aspect of this, cracking back down on discipline. I don't want to take away from the head of the show, Kofi. So go ahead.
I don't, yeah, every time I try to speak, man, y'all jump in, man. But well, I mean, and some of the things that I was gonna speak on, Sean spoke on it, Taneb done spoke on it. You done spoke on it, man. So like I said, I ain't gonna keep beating a dead horse. I mean, this was a good conversation. I gotta get ready to get off here. I kind of wanted to be. I knew it wasn't gonna be no hour. I knew once we got the ball rolling, everybody got into it. I know it one, but it's all good, man. I appreciate um everybody's on the panel. I appreciate you, brother Voss. Appreciate you, brother T'Challa, brother Sutekh, who came on late. Setepenre. Appreciate you, brother Zaneb. Zaneb, I need to get your number too, man. Um, uh, appreciate you, Sister
No,
Kyla.
that I put it in the back check.
Okay, all right. Uh, appreciate my good brother, any Herit Shawn Khalfani, my brother from another mother. Um, we may have to do like a part two to it. I like these open discussions where we can uh get in here, man, and we can build on each other's conversation. Give our own opinion, our outlook, our own perspective. Uh, and just sharing with each other and with the family. That's what it's all about. I got it. I see it. So now let me go ahead and get that now. But I'm finna get ready to end the show, man. Anybody got any last words, man? Before
Yeah, I do. I got one thing, and I'll do my best not to be too long with it. And I'm only saying it because we talked about it. Somebody in the chat made a comment towards escapism, and I kind of giggled when I seen it because I talked to you about it. I'm gonna go back and try to find it because I don't want to misquote him. I found it, and I hope they don't mind me reading it because I'm not trying to disrespect nobody. It just I I like to see how people think. It says, I feel as if forming social groups, organizations is a solution. I think people go through struggles out in the world, then lean so hard on entertainment for escapism. And that's one of the things I said to you, Kofi, when you said entertainment versus education, I was like, we might have to add another E and put escapism there. Because when we talk about entertainment, you leave out the emotional aspect. And it may feel good. I don't want to get to cussing, but it may feel good to certain ones to hear some of these negative things that come along with entertainment. I don't want to dirty the show up, but use y'all's imaginations. The murder, the sex, the drugs, all those things. The idea that love don't exist. I'm a do for self. It's all about me, me, me. That entertainment begins to in itself educate you to be something that you're going against. One of my long term battles that I've had is we have to combat that sentiment in itself, that you can't love and you can't trust anybody, because the very fundamental aspects of being a human being is to want to be loved and to want to be trusted. Kofi wants to be trusted as a good person. Everybody on this panel wants to be trusted as a good person. The love we have for everybody, especially our people, we want to see that same type of love implemented. Maybe not towards ourselves, but we want you to know the value of that love. And then that's where education comes in. That's where culture comes in. So we do need to continue this conversation, and we do need to really maybe put some mind power into it. Has entertainment become a form of escapism? Is it a way to escape the pains versus looking towards education as that escapism? And that goes back to what are the incentives of becoming educated? If we show all the not so respected characters winning and they're getting escapes to live their heaven on earth, if the drug dealer has the nice car, he gets all the women, but the school teacher is driving a Toyota Corolla and no one knows his name, where do you think that young mind is going to gravitate towards? So we need to look at it. Are we, what are we running away from? But I don't want to.
Can I say something real quick?
yes, go ahead.
So I don't want to be long or nothing, because Vasa said a couple of things that I was already gonna say, but what we also have to look at, like when you're talking about escape, in our community, right? What do you hear most times in Black families? Oh, we don't go to counseling, right? We don't do therapy. So that's the problem. That was one of the reasons why I got into psychology in the first place, just because I realized that as Black people, we don't want to go to therapy. One, because most times it's a white therapist. And for me, I felt like a white person is not going to be able to relate to me because I'm Black and they don't know what it is to be Black in America. So that's a problem in itself right there. So all my problems, they just gonna hit me with the okie doke and send me on about my way and take my money. And that's not the purpose of seeking counseling or therapy, whatever. So that's why it goes back to when I think it was Neb and I don't know who else, but quantity does matter, and quality also matters. They both matter because we are stronger in numbers. Because if you look at it, all of those people that we're saying we are outnumbered by are a big influence on those same children that we are trying to teach. So here we are, going back and forth in a sense, trying to correct their bad behavior, but then they just go right back home and see it all over again. So now it's just all forgotten. Because those babies that we talking about are those children, their children. So yes, numbers do definitely matter because we have to look at it and go back in history and say, okay, where did we fuck up at? I mean, excuse me, where did we mess up at? And figure out how to correct it and not make that same mistake. We didn't try everything. Obviously, we can go back and forth all night about the integration thing. There's a lot of different points that could be touched on that. And so, you know, that's a thing that we need to look at and see where we messed up at and how we can now in this day and age correct it. And like I said, we outnumbered and we got to figure out a way to um become more numbered together. And the one thing that I heard that was told to me, you have to teach people without them even knowing they're being taught. Because again, we have older people that's stuck in their ways. We got egos, everybody got labels, and they in it for all the wrong reasons, or it's all about self. And whenever you dealing with the community, or you supposed to be an activist or whatever you want to label yourself as, it should be something that you're passionate about and that is something genuine. It should not be because you about to make money or whatever the case, you being manipulative to the persons. So we can come together and also address them people that do have that bad character like they was talking about earlier, and call them out on it. That's another problem too. People don't like to hear the truth. Everybody wants something sugar coated and watered down and filtered. And that's a problem, because them same people will be the same ones to be quick to judge the next person or tell the next person about themselves. But the moment you tell them about themselves, it's a problem. And that's a problem in itself. So, it's not gonna happen overnight. I understand that. But I mean, damn, everything else has failed. I mean, we 400 plus years in and still sitting, I'm not going to say in the same spot, but in a sense we still at the very bottom. So we're still in the same spot in the race. And it shouldn't be, and it don't have to be. And until we get people to wake up and realize that, this is going to be a tough battle against them. And I mean, I don't want to say against them, but if you know what I'm trying to say. I don't want to be long-winded. Let you go.
All right. Again, appreciate everyone for joining the panel in on discussion. Next time, Sister Mo, just join the panel. You've been typing up a storm. Join the panel.
Hey, brother Kofi, I just want to say two quick things.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I'm out. To what the sister had asked about what is the solution I want to tie that into what Brother Seneb was saying about mentioning. He dropped about 8, 9 names, and I look on the panel and I see about 6, 7 people, 8 people on the panel. Um, and I think the emergence of individuals in time who, because we all agree on the panel in terms of there's a problem and we seek to have a solution to it, and we've all presented ideas towards that in one way or another. We have to just be that example, shining bright, no matter how many people are doing the opposite thing. That's just the bottom line. Because I have taught people in classes, kids and adults alike, and it is because of just being a difference that we are able to, that I'm able to, have them asking me back to do another 8 weeks, another 6 weeks, come back next year or come back next week, or however often they're able to have me back to teach a program, to teach a class. It is based off of your character and what I meant earlier about character. I mentioned character. And I'm talking about really being an individual who just inspires change no matter what. You have to be that. You have to walk in the shoes that you seek to teach others or seek to have others to show the babies for the next generation. Because without that, no one actually, like Saber said, no one really is going to listen to you with that character. I don't care how much good information you have. Actually, you don't get programs walking up in there demanding, cussing and screaming, talking about you better let me teach and this and that, and acting a fool. You don't get grants that way. You know what I mean? You write your proposals and then you send it in and hope that it gets approved. And when you get in those establishments, you walk in there like a decent human being. You don't walk in there with the foolishness and the ratchet TVs and the hip hop reality shows, thinking you finna walk in there with your pants hanging down, using all types of foul language. In that context, there is a time for language for you to express yourself, but it is not in that environment. And what I mentioned, character, a good educator is one who walks with good character. Because you cannot learn from those who do not illustrate the ideology we've all forth on this panel. Um, and I just feel that that's a real important part of the solution to what the sister asked for is what do we do different? Because like she said, we deep in the game and we just it is despicable where we are at this point in terms of as a whole here in America especially, and then even globally, how Black people are just we still playing catch up. And so I just feel that being an example is the solution, and more people will catch on, just as we have gathered here today for this video. More and more people will do so. So
All right. Well, I want
Real quick, can
to. Oh, go
can
ahead.
I be heard?
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, because I know you're trying to close out. I think we don't need to separate the two. I think we need to integrate the two as much as possible. More of educational entertainment because we need both. We need proper education, especially from our cultural context and not outsiders' cultural context. And we also need entertainment because that helps us learn. But we need entertainment that doesn't push negative stereotypes and negative messages in general. But we definitely need education because it helps us learn. Even as kids, you say in the ABC song to learn your ABCs. That's entertainment and education, and that helped us learn. That helped us get it into our mind. So I feel like we gotta marry the two instead of trying to separate it. Um, the problem, the problem is we glorify negative entertainment instead of the positive entertainment. We got certain platforms with black people disrespecting and degrading each other. They might have 1,000 views at any given time, but you got other platforms like Mozzie, you got Kofi Piesie TV, you got MBK. These platforms ain't even doing half those numbers. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense to me. I think the bottom line is we love the BS. If we stop watching these platforms that's promoting a lot of this foolishness, then these certain platforms will stop putting forth a lot of this foolishness. And that's all I had to say.
Brother Sutekh, late for the party. Yeah, appreciate, man, your spiel, man. Yeah, like I said, I gotta get out of here, man. We might do a part 2 to this, man.
Nah, man, just tell
I
people the
got I
truth,
got one
man.
more thing
Tell the
to
people
add
the
on,
truth
Kofi.
why you gotta leave, man.
I got
Don't
one
try to
more
put
thing
us
to
out
add
because
on,
you know what I'm
Kofi.
saying. Go
And I
ahead,
gotta,
Satep.
Nah,
I
nah,
gotta,
I'm just clowning. I ain't
I
got
gotta,
nothing.
I got,
Satep crazy.
It seems like
and I got,
everybody. I got one more thing.
What the
and I gotta
do
make a
not get a
statement
mic to
towards that.
Vasa. Do not
Yeah,
mute your mic, Vasa.
he
I
another
won't take long.
Wu Job.
No, you gonna take long. Yes, you
No,
will, Wu Jawu Jr. Yes, you will.
I promise. I just want to
No,
make one comment towards
we
that
Man,
gonna
thought.
you
hear it.
gonna
We
say it
don't
when
want to hear it.
you get
Anyways,
Man,
strong.
be quiet.
here's the thing, and it's another one of those questions just to make y'all think. The average person needing a car, do they go to Lamborghini and Ferrari dealerships? No, they don't. They go for what they feel they can afford. Apply that towards the numbers we get. Monica, don't take it as people not showing up, that your value in the information is not there. Same thing with Kofi Piesie TV. Just because it's 15 watching, that might be 15 billionaire minds. It's not your Ford driver. It's not your hoopty from around the corner that you're just trying to spend 200 on. That goes back to the quality versus quantity ordeal. That's all I wanted to say.
I,
Don't lose track of that.
I like
Man, listen, man. You trying to get people who don't read books to think?
Everybody over here read books.
We do, but I'm talking about the other people.
Yeah, I was speaking to us just now.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, you couldn't say that till after Kofi closed out because you know he about to get put out if you don't be
No, because
quiet.
then Monica wouldn't hear me, and she spoke towards how
But
many
Kofi
views
is
she
about
got.
to get put out.
Okay. It's
You
because
see
he
what
don't
I'm
have his
saying?
hat
You see
on.
what I'm saying?
You should have put your hat on, Kofi.
He ain't got
It's
one.
never hap- It's never happens when you wear your hat.
yeah.
He ain't got one. He ain't got one. He got that little die in the middle of his flat top.
It ain't going.
He ain't gonna get it die next week when he need it because he was on here too long.
Yeah. Yeah, you about right. I need to get something done to it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, man, I want to say Black African Power, family. Shimim Hotel. That means the go in peace or depart and peace. We'll see you again next week on Kofi Piesie TV and Mossy Warrior Clan YouTube channel as well. Appreciate the support. We want to thank you. Black African Power. We out.
Mm-hmm. We out. You can cut